Hello, my guys. Here's your promised video. Thanks for subscribing to my YouTube channel. If you would just click below and ring that bell for notifications, I'd really appreciate it. I wanted to give you some quick feedback about your timed writings since I'm not going to be able to see you tomorrow. I already returned those to you on Google Classroom, so you can see if you open it up. I graded them on my iPad, so you should see a PDF attached to the assignment where you'll see my chicken scratch all over that as well as a score. So it'll say thesis dash evidence slash commentary slash sophistication. So for example, it might say like 140, 131, something like that. If you pull up the rubric for question 2, the prose essay, then you'll see more of the specifics about what goes into that score. I try to leave you some specific feedback on the doc itself so that you could see what that looks like. Trifina, I will get you yours ASAP. So after reading all of those today, number one, what I want to say is great job. That was a tough piece. I would like to call the title of this video, in fact, will the real Zenobia please stand up? Because we have our girl Zenobia who is really struggling to be herself, and our narrator who is frustrated with that and seeking to kind of pull her true self out of her. And you guys did a really great job of engaging with that complexity. And some of you really dug into the nuance of that relationship of being frustrated by her change, but also having some hope for her authentic self to shine through. So I wanted to address two things kind of as a group after looking at all of your essays. The first is about specific theses, specifically in regards to writing an analytical thesis. So I gave you guys that thesis template, which you guys used. It was really great. A few of us struggled not with identifying literary techniques, but with coming up with a thesis that was interpretive. And by that, I mean you have an argumentative statement about the piece. So, for example, for this specific piece, a lot of us said that Hawthorne used A and B literary strategy in order to convey the narrator's attitude towards Zenobia, right? Now, that's just a regurgitation of the prompt. We want to borrow the language of the prompt, but we also want to interpret, not just regurgitate. So what I was looking for is what is the narrator's attitude towards Zenobia? Not that he has one. Of course he has one. I have an attitude towards Zenobia, right? But what is that attitude? At the very basic level, you're going to hate me for this, but you could say that attitude is complex. That's just one to keep in your back pocket, right? If you say it's complex, you're going to have to unpack that complexity, but at least you are then interpreting or providing an interpretation, okay? If you just say that the narrator has an attitude, you're not providing that interpretation. If you say complex, at least you're throwing something out there. I would love to see something a little bit more specific than that. And I'm actually going to show you an example of that done really well in kind of a nuanced way here in a minute. However, I have two docs for you that I'd like you to take a look at in terms of rehashing your timed writing. So this is a activity that you can get kind of used to. After we do a timed writing, I'm going to usually provide you with some type of revision activity. It's not going to be revising your full essay, but rather isolating a skill that we struggled with as a whole and kind of revisiting that specific skill and maybe revising just that section. So I'm going to have us look at a thesis revision rehash today and a body paragraph revision rehash. And what I would like to say before that is just generally, no matter where you fall on this spectrum, we can always improve our writing. So if you approach this activity like, I have nothing else to improve because I'm perfect, you're wrong. And you're proud. So toss that to the side. We can always make it better. Even if that's just, I'm going to elevate my diction a little bit, I'm going to bump up my sophistication, we can always work to do that. Okay? So for the first rehash, what I'd like you to do is think about analytical thesis statements. So this right here, I'm using A Rose for Emily as an example. We read that story a few weeks ago. I'm using the thesis template, but I'm picking it apart a little bit more. So for example, if we're talking about A Rose for Emily, in Faulkner's A Rose for Emily, the author presents a critical tone that is developed through morbid diction and grotesque details in order to convey that the town of Jefferson views Miss Emily as old-fashioned and outdated. Now, I'm following the thesis template that I gave you. However, I'm also answering 3 questions at the same time. What, how, and why? So in A Rose for Emily, the author presents a critical tone. That's the what. Okay, that's the strategy that is developed through morbid diction and grotesque details. How is that strategy unpacked? In order to convey that the town of Jefferson views Miss Emily as old-fashioned and outdated. Why? Okay. What's the purpose of that? All right. So, for example, with Zenobia, I might say that the author presents the narrator's ambivalent attitude towards Zenobia that is developed through this and this in order to convey what about the relationship. All right. So effective thesis statements are specific. We're not just talking about tone. We're not just talking about diction or details, but add an adjective. Add an adjective. Okay. When in doubt, add an adjective. Just add a clear adjective, right? Don't try to like pull out your internal thesaurus. A clear adjective is going to be helpful. We want specificity and clarity. So in this example, that would be a critical tone, my adjective to describe tone there. Defensible, it needs evidence to stand, right? It's developed through what? Morbid diction and grotesque details. Tone doesn't just exist, right? It's developed through something. A complex attitude doesn't just exist. It's developed through something. It also needs to be interpretive, okay? And this is really important because to get the thesis point, you have to provide an interpretation of the text. I was generous this time around, and I gave you that thesis point. Even if you didn't have a clear interpretation, you would not be getting that point on the exam. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're creating meaning out of the story. So in order to convey that the town of Jefferson views Miss Emily as old-fashioned and outdated. Here's what I'd like you to do for your rehash. I want you to paste your original thesis, and then I want you to revise it, okay, to make it more specific, more defensible, more interpretive. Once you've revised it, I want you to use the comment feature to label what is the what, the how, and the why, so that I can see that you understand this. Even if your thesis was really great, what's one way that you could just take it up to the next level? Okay, maybe you need to add a more specific adjective than the one that you already have. Okay, so that's your first rehash. The second one has to do with the body. Okay, I saw quite a few essays with unfocused body paragraphs. The key to a focused body paragraph is a good, clear, focused topic sentence. Okay, the topic sentence is just your mini claim. It's a subclaim, right, to your thesis. If you have a focused topic sentence, then you can focus on making sure, how many times can I say the word focus? You can ensure that your commentary is always connecting your evidence back to that topic sentence or that subclaim, okay? The other piece of this is that you want to make sure that you have commentary following all of your evidence, explaining how that evidence connects to your subclaim, and at the end of your paragraph, explaining how everything that you've just talked about actually comes back to the purpose, that interpretation that you have talked about in your thesis, okay? So what I would like you to do is you're not going to do this physically. You're going to do this digitally. Trifina, you're going to have to use Cami probably on a PDF. I want you to highlight your reasoning, okay, your developed reasoning, your clear topic sentence in blue, your evidence in yellow, and then your clear connection back to your thesis statement or your subclaim in green, okay? Go through your essay and highlight those things. You can do that digitally. What do you notice? Do you have really skimpy evidence? Do you have more evidence than commentary? You should aim to have double the evidence as commentary. This should be mostly your words. I will say that for the most part, I saw a lot of just really great specific details and trimming evidence down to just what you need instead of taking full sentences. You did a great job with that, and embedding that into your own sentences. It was beautiful. I wanted to weep. I loved it. So you're going to run through that activity. You're going to paste your original body paragraph here with your highlights. I want to see that. And then I want you to paste your revised body paragraph below. Again, even if you got a 4 on evidence and commentary, I want you to make sure that you are just bumping things up to the next level. How could you maybe make your tone a little bit more formal? Maybe take your diction to the next level, so on and so forth. Okay, so those are your 2 rehash things. It shouldn't take you very long. I know that my video is going long, but before we go, I wanted to show you one final thing. This is a sample from someone in the class in the essay that they wrote about Zenobia. And I wanted to just show this to you as an example because it's just quality, and it shows what it looks like to tackle a nuanced thesis and prove it in the body. Okay, so notice they don't really start with a big introduction. That's okay. It's okay. It's better to have a clear claim. Again, this is for timed writing. If you have more time to kind of sit in an essay, of course you're going to flesh out a good introduction. But for this purpose, this is okay. Nathaniel Hawthorne utilizes, I would ask for a better verb, but I'll take it. First person perspective and details of setting in order to convey his character's attitude of scathing criticism towards Zenobia, but also a hope that she can be changed. Okay, so we have the what, right? That first person perspective, and then the why to convey this attitude of scathing criticism towards Zenobia, but also hope that she can be changed. This is where we get some interpretation, right? The attitude is scathing, but also hopeful. Okay, it's not just that he has an attitude, but it's a scathing attitude that is complex in the fact that it's also hopeful. So I like that nuance there. Really great. They go on to have very clear topic sentences and very focused paragraphs. The setting plays a very important role in describing the narrator's view of Zenobia, specifically the objects and decorations in her house. Okay, as the reader, I can now expect that we're going to be unpacking setting details in this paragraph. Anything that is not about that should be somewhere else. I'm actually going to post this on Classroom for you to peruse at your leisure. However, just notice phrases pulled out here, not full sentences, embedded into a sentence of their own. It's beautiful. Okay. Notice how at the end, let's go back to their final commentary. The reader can infer from his contrast of the wealthier items to these personal items that the narrator doesn't completely condemn Zenobia for the way she lives, possibly hoping that he could bring her down to earth. Both elements of harsh criticism and potential to change Zenobia's approach to living contribute to an overall complex attitude towards the woman. And so that's where we have commentary that is connecting back to not only just the topic sentence, but also the thesis, right? In the terms of what is this complex attitude. All right. They go on to do this with first person perspective, very focused. And then at the very end, they bring it to a little bit broader picture here. The conflict of disapproval towards a friend is truly a feeling many people have felt. Hawthorne's depiction of a certain instance of this feeling and the narrator's hope to change Zenobia present a relatable narrative to the reader of the good that can come out of all situations. So we're broadening things there at the end. Now, if this person had more time, I would say go back, beef up your intro, beef up your conclusion. But for a 40-minute essay, this is looking pretty great. Okay, pretty great. So feel free to kind of look at this on Google Classroom as well. I'm also looking for those 2 rehashes by Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I'm going to have you work in your pods to unpack a poem together that might look a little bit familiar to some of you if you've been here since freshman year. No matter how you slice it, it's a really great poem. And I wish I was here to unpack it with you, but I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Wednesday. So, if you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do so below. Feel free to share on your social. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.